Howdy folks, Tex here. Welcome to Southern Belle Bigfoot. Let me introduce y'all to a great friend of mine, Celena.
Hey y'all, I'm Celena. I started this channel because I had my own encounter, and I know what it's like to be ridiculed and unable to share my experiences. I want to give everyone a safe haven to share their encounters with these magnificent beings. I love to hear yours as well. Please email them to me at cwlenagarrett@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support me in my journey to the truth, my Cash App is $sign Celena Bigfoot, and I look forward to hearing from you. Hey, everybody.
Well, we made it through the weekend and here we are. Right?
Yes.
And from what I understand, we're not the only ones that had an interesting weekend. Rob had, there's a bunch of people that had stuff going on this weekend. So y'all are lucky to see the three of us up here for sure.
That's true. I'm so tickled to have Rob here. Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. I have heard a lot about him. He's a legend in his own right.
Oh God, I'll never get live that down. Here we go. Here we go.
I've heard a lot about him and a lot of good things from you about him. So don't try to deny that, Tex.
No, I never say anything good about Rob. Never. Never. Well, what do you say we get him up here and get this thing cranked off?
Come on up, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob.
Oh, hey, hello.
Howdy, brother.
Hey, it's the legend. I guess I'm now the legendary Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Of course, you can find me on YouTube. Thank you for that. That's pretty sweet. Appreciate it.
Well, I've heard a lot about you and your books. Now, I'm excited.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Too, because I've heard a lot about your books. So you have to tell us.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me on in. And yeah, just glad to be here. I was telling you backstage, I was walking past my calendar. I have this big old calendar where I have all my scheduled shows, appointments throughout. And I said, oh, great. I'm on tonight. And I totally did forget because I normally don't do anything on Sunday. I'm like, oh, cool. That was like 3 hours ago. I said, well, we got plenty of time. And so, yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're glad you're here. Of course, I hear a lot about you. I really do.
Okay.
And I subscribed to your channel a while back.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I was hearing a lot about you from other people.
Oh,
and
wow.
Tex, regardless of what he says a lot of good things about you. So don't let him fool you.
I can't tell you where I first met Tex at. So I'll just leave it at that.
On another show. I was co-hosting another show.
Yeah, it was. It's funny how I did meet Tex. It was on a couple of show years ago. I don't know how long it was. Tex, geez, time flies by. I've been doing this with you for about 5 years at least. And
yeah, we met about 7 years ago.
Yeah, and it was funny.
It's not longer. Yeah.
I had an experience in 2018, which I can tell you about. But prior to when I had that, I started surfing the web found out about YouTube, and I did come across a couple channels. One was Sasquatch Chronicles, where I did my first ever interview with Wes. That was pretty fun. Well, actually, it was terrifying for me. And then I seen Tex with this other guy on this show, and I must admit I liked this show for a while. And Tex would be a periodic co-host, and I actually started liking Tex quite a bit more than the other guy. And so I don't even know if Tex, you had a channel up at that time. I don't remember. I don't think you did. I just remembered you were pretty cool and as you are, and laid back and told a good story, had good information. Then I finally did find Tex when he started his channel, and then he brought me on his show to do my encounter. And then maybe not too much longer later, I started up my own show, and so we've been friends pretty much ever since.
Yeah.
Well,
he likes to talk about. He wanted to do, because when he first started out, he wanted to do a sports show with his brother.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And I said, well, hell, I'll help you out, and everything. And So it was decided that he was going to start co-hosting with me and practice and all that kind of stuff, and eventually he'd go do his old sports show. The sports show still hasn't happened.
No, yes, it happened.
About 7 years later, the sports show still hasn't happened.
Yeah. And as much as I'd love to do a sports show, Texas, we're all so busy. I just can't fit it in. I just can't right now. But it's okay. I get plenty of it on. I can watch and listen to them later. I got 3 shows, almost 4 shows now. Every once in a while, I'll do a 4th, and of course, with our whole group that we have, and then doing interviews like this and other folks' shows, it's just like you don't have the time to do everything. You could, Tex. But my thing is, all of us we like about quality content, and I don't want to steal from Peter to pay Paul off.
And Pops is right. We all met about the same time.
Yeah.
Because so we've all there's a lot of
In
that
fact,
have been friends for
I might have met. I never met his son Gary. I think I came across him before even Pops. I think I somehow.
Well, yeah. I met Pops through him, but
yeah,
it was about the same time.
Yeah.
Well, there's a good fella, Pops. I just think he's awesome. I just really do. Y'all, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I can be very unprofessional when I try so hard not to be. I stepped on my glasses and I broke them. And Tex is going to be trying to read the chat for me because I'm trying to hold them into place, but I literally broke them. And so I'm doing the best I can do. I love everybody out there, so I can't see anything, but y'all know I love you.
Well, I can see you just fine. You look pretty like a Southern belle.
Thank you. Will you tell us? I know I'm jumping right into it, but
you can.
So much about your story, and I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, you never heard the story, though.
Tell us about your first Bigfoot.
Okay.
Situation.
Well, I can then. So anyway, this happened to me. This is how it all really started. Really, how I started getting involved with watching podcasts and how I found Tex, this, that, and the other. For me, it all began. I will say this first, though. I started introducing this now the last couple of months because I've always seen weird things throughout my life. At the age of 5 or 6, I saw a UFO. I saw ghosts as a young kid. Throughout my life, I always had paranormal accounts, shadow people, things like that. And so it wasn't until, though, 2018, the summer of June 15th, 2018, we're kind of all looking back at my life now. It all comes full circle, really. And so I was dating this girl, Cindy, for almost a couple of years, going on 3 years, I think it was. And so I decided one day, I told her one day, say, honey, we're going to go do some fishing at in Michigan on a lake called Lake Cadillac, which at the time I did not even know was it paralleled this other lake called Lake Mitchell. And it's in Wexford, Michigan. That's the county. And really quick on that note, Wexford, Michigan, as I find out later in life, is the alleged capital of dogman sightings, and they've had quite a bit of Bigfoot sightings in this county. So I found that out again later on after my experience. So, anyways, Cindy's like, really? I said, yeah. We've been together for a while. I like to explore. I like Mother Nature. I like to fish. And I like the outdoors, so let's do this. I already went ahead and rented a cabin on the lake. I rented a small skiff type fishing boat. She's like, okay, and I did tell her, hey, it's a cool area. They've got a little shop. It's a nice, quaint little town. There's restaurants, things for you to do, thrift shops, antique shops, all those things. Okay, so. Of course, when we get out there, it's the middle of the week. It's in the summer, as I said, June 15th. And of course, I wanted to get out on the lake, do my fishing like at 6 a.m. Well, she wasn't in all that. We got on the lake about 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So we get out on Lake Cadillac, and I will tell you this about Lake Cadillac. If anybody's ever in Michigan, you got to go out there. It's a beautiful, expansive lake. The lake itself is surrounded by a lot of beautiful homes. There's some small businesses, small industries. Nice place to live. Nice little township. Nice little village. And it's in the forest. And the forest is the what's the forest we have? Oh, Manistee National Forest. As I again learned later about the Manistee National Forest, a lot of things have gone on in this forest. Some suggest there's haunted lands, tainted lands, and of course, not the entire forest because it's probably the biggest forest we have in Michigan. It goes all the way from Lake Michigan, all the way to, which is on the west, for those who don't know, and all the way to the east, which would be Lake Huron. It just covers the whole top of the map. If you look on the map, it's all green. And that's pretty much that forest. That's the main forest we have in the lower peninsula. So it's very beautiful. So, anyways, we get the boat out ready to go. And so we're out fishing now. We're spending, we're about an hour into it. And quite honestly, we didn't get a nibble, didn't get a bite. I can tell Cindy's a little bit bored. So I said, well, you know what? Let's just let's boat around the lake and do some exploring. She goes, yeah. She's like, okay, Rob. Let's see, yeah, good idea. So I'm just driving this little boat around, this little skiff, if you will. And then I come across this canal. We go through, drift through the canal. And then it expands to another lake, which I find out later is called Lake Mitchell. Now, Lake Mitchell, pretty much as big as Lake Cadillac, but what I loved about Lake Mitchell, despite the beauty of Cadillac, Mitchell was less built up, less big houses, not as busy. And you had the beautiful backdrop of the Manistee National Forest in the background. Beautiful. This day was beautiful. Blue sky. The sun was nice and orange. It's a nice day. You can see the beautiful greens of the forest. And I'm like, now this is it right here. We're going to catch some fish, I'm telling her. So I'm drifting down. I'm, taking the boat down a little bit, and then we get to this little bay. So I stop the boat, and I put it out, the little trolling motor on at a very low speed, and I'm about 90 feet out from the shoreline. And I go to Cindy. I said, okay, this is cool. So we're going to fish. So I proceed to start putting new lures on our fishing poles and such. So I'm kind of looking down, doing what I need to do. And Cindy's up standing on the boat. And she's looking just out into the beautiful forest backdrop. And then she says to me, hey, Rob. I go, yeah. She goes, I think someone's throwing rocks at the boat. I'm like, really? I said, well, I looked up and I saw nobody there. Nothing's going on over there. I said, well, yeah, maybe I don't see anybody. Maybe it's some fish jumping around. So I'm kind of excited, right? I think maybe it's fish popping around. So I go back to doing what I'm doing with the tackle, the bait, the lures. Not even a minute later, more emphatically, she says, Rob, seriously, I think someone's throwing rocks at the boat. I just seen one come from the forest, plop in front of the boat a little bit. I look up at her. I said, look, I don't see anybody out there. I said, do me a favor. Maybe there are. I don't know, but I don't see how anybody could be tossing rocks. Let me get back to putting the tackle together. Give me just 2 more minutes. I'm almost done. She goes, okay. So as I go back to working on the tackle, for whatever the reason, I just happen to kind of look up a little bit towards the sky. And I see this object falling out of the sky, and it's getting closer to hitting the waterfront in front of us. And I noticed it is a rock. It's about the size of a baseball. Kerplunk, splashes maybe 4 to 6 feet from the boat. So I go to turn to Cindy to apologize. I know this was launched from the forest line, the tree line, from shore. And I look at Cindy. She's standing up, as I said, and she's... At this time, June 15th, she's 5'1", about 109 pounds, and she already had a suntan. She was a sun worshiper, head to toe, golden brown. I tell you what, Celena, her every color in her body was strange. She was ghostly white. I'm like, what the heck is she looking at? Then I happen to glance at the shore. Again, 90 feet away, so we're pretty close. And I see this huge figure, about 9 feet tall, 8 to 9 feet tall. I always say 9 feet, about 4 foot wide. It had beautiful reddish brown hair from head to toe. And it was a creature. I'm thinking to myself, I knew about Bigfoot, back when I saw the Leonard Nimoy show In Search of, and I did happen to run across Patterson Gimlin growing up. And I see this thing. But that was it for me. I loved monsters as a kid, so I always watched everything. But I wasn't a researcher. It was a passing fancy entertainment. So, and I see this robust beast, and I'm looking at this thing, and the entire, as I said, it was all covered in this beautiful coat of hair. The front of the chest, though, was a gray. Then I see this face, a human looking face, a big face. The hair wasn't covering it. It's grayish, but it's like an offset gray, but his face is like really wrinkled. He had two big sets of a big set of eyes, but they're kind of offset. One kind of drooped, big nose that we all hear about. And it kind of looked like, I always say, like a kid or a person with Down syndrome or like a deformity. And then someone suggested later, like a stroke, because I had a rendition and it does look kind of like that a little bit. I'm like, whoa, this, whatever this is. But I'm thinking now, this is not a creature. As I just mentioned, it looks human. It looks kind of like a human, but an odd looking human. So I'm looking at it, and all of a sudden it's standing on the shoreline, Celena, and it kind of rolls back a little bit, and its shoulders kind of roll back. And then its jaw, he opens his mouth, and it's like the jaw literally dropped down maybe 6 inches, just distended really from the mouth and down. It opens its mouth, wide, big mouth. You can feel like two softballs in it. Yeah, like a set of teeth up and down on the top and on the bottom. But like I mentioned earlier, that gray, just odd, dryish looking face, it got really taut. All the wrinkles were gone. It was very taut. It turned almost like a darker color, like a blackish purple, if you will. And the eyes roll back black. And this thing, as I always make mention of, it turned from that human looking person into what I described at the time it looked demonic to me. And then the bone chilling thing about this was when it opens its mouth, it roars, it yells, it screams all in unison, 90 feet away again, with this vibration kind of reverberates, and I can feel the reverberation hit me. I don't know what it is, but it's like a sonic boom or blast. It's kind of like, I always tell people, if you see those movies or those documentaries when they drop a bomb, how you see the shock wave kind of run out from the impact point. I didn't see that, but that's what it reminded me of when I look back at it. So it hits me, and I kind of stumble back a little bit. But as I mentioned earlier, Cindy, not a very big woman, she flips off the boat, and this roar is just louder than anything. And all of a sudden, the beautiful blue sky, the orange sun, the green background, the backdrop of the Manistee National Forest all turned it got grainy. My vision now is like almost like black and white, and time almost stood still. It's like I was like lost in a different realm, if you will. Now the thing is about this is I go to my right to get Cindy in the boat, but I can't move. I'm paralyzed. Not from fear. I physically couldn't move. And so I'm trying to shake my head and get my brain functioning, whatever I'm doing. Then I snap out of it. All of a sudden the colors come back. I'm out of this fog or whatever I'm in, whatever influence I'm under. and I get her into the boat, pull her in the boat, and now I look to the shoreline. And for me, this really was very scary because I looked to the shoreline, and whatever this was gone. I'm like, holy man, where is this thing? I'm thinking maybe it's underwater swimming. I mean, the boat we were on was this creature easily could upend this boat.
Yeah.
So I turned the boat around and I just opened up the throttle and opened the engine all the way up, and I blasted across Lake Mitchell. I got back to that canal, went through the canal, and beeline towards where I launched the craft. Dock the boat, get to Cindy, get a blanket, wrap it around her. She's shivering, getting some of her color back. We get out of that boat, and I immediately look for some place to warm her up inside a restaurant or something. So, fortunately, about a half block up the road we walked off of, there's this corner bar restaurant. And again, it's like a Wednesday afternoon, kind of the midday. I think right around now, it's maybe just after lunchtime, 12:30. I think I remember last. I look to the right. I walk in to the right. There's like a guy at the end of the bar sitting there. Not too many people. And to the left, nobody's over there. So Cindy and I go to the very back, far left corner of the bar. We sit down across from each other, and the waitress comes up and, what you guys having? And now Cindy, not a drinker, orders first, and she says, I'll have a shot of Jack Daniels and a bottle of Bud Light. And I'm like, wow. I'm thinking, yeah, this is something. And I'm not blowing this off because I was still in shock. I said, yeah, I'll have the same, but make mine a double. So the waitress turns around, goes to get our order ready, and I'm looking at Cindy. She's looking at me. We don't say a word to each other. We're just kind of looking at each other, trying to process what just happened. So barmaid comes up. Cindy takes that shot of Jack Daniels back like a champ, like she'd been drinking for 20 years. Washes down half that bottle of Bud Light. I do the same. I drink my shot, drink my other Bud Light, and I still had two in front of me. Then finally she says, hey, Robbie, what do you think that was? And I go, Cindy, I don't know. What do you think that was? She goes, well, I don't know, but, and I mind everybody, she and I never together watched any Bigfoot documentaries together. Bigfoot was never once ever mentioned in our short time together, almost 3 years. I think it was that Bigfoot creature, she says. And I say, I'm kind of thinking maybe it was. Mm-hmm. Then she says, what do you think we should do? Call the authorities, the DNR, the sheriff, the local police? And right there, that it sets in, like every guest that we have on a show or anybody has an encounter, you're already thinking, I'm not telling anybody. They're not going to believe this. Two out-of-towners. Yes, we live in Michigan. Our first time, 200 miles north to the west. No. Not a good idea. Let's just keep this under wraps. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, though, we couldn't keep our mind off what we've seen. Cindy was still kind of scared. And I must admit, I was still not of the right mind because I'm trying to figure out also, like, how did I just lose my cognizance of this whole incident, right? I just I was awake and I wasn't even dreaming or nothing, right? So we ended up cutting this experience a little bit short, and we pack it up, we go home. So we get home and we immersed ourselves into Bigfoot. We or whatever it was. I started typing Bigfoot on the internet, and Cindy's doing the same, and I'm typing in demon, I'm typing in monsters, creatures, Lake Cadillac, this, that, and the other. And then it was really weird because at this time in 2018, I never really used YouTube for anything. I usually watched YouTube just to throw on old concerts back in the day and watch those, but I never typed in. I never knew that YouTube had chat rooms and channels like this. I just wasn't my thing, right? I just didn't do it. Then I found a few channels. But here's the thing: early on, though, in my research or my looking into this, I never found anything I quite believed or liked. I didn't even know Tex. I didn't know nobody, and the things I came up with were kind of whatever, ho hum. The pictures I saw online didn't match up. So we did this for a little bit, couple months, and we're just kind of getting no answers. I have no really, I didn't make any contacts really for the most part. And now this is the sad part of this is we're into this and we're into this research, whatever happened. Now I have to say that her mother, we didn't live together. She lived with her mom. Her mom disliked me because I, at the time, owned a bar. So good old Rob was a demon, She was just one of these. You drink, you smoke, you don't go to church, you're going to hell. So I was a bad guy. Never spoke ever to her mom, especially on the phone, not once. I get a phone call. It was on, listen to this one now. My encounter was June 15th, 2018. Her mom calls me August 15th, 2018. Never calls me. Rob, I go, yeah. I'm like, is this so and so? Her mom. I forgot her name already. Cindy passed away this morning. I go, what? She passed away. Well, I mean, what do you mean passed away? She got hit by a car? What? I don't know. Perfectly good health. Supposedly, her mom says she had a heart attack early in the morning hours. And now I'm not even listening to her mom anymore because I'm like, I'm reflecting back on the incident, right? All of a sudden I started thinking about maybe whatever happened had a great effect on her. So anyway, I like go talk to her mom. Then her mom says, "Oh, by the way, since you're the spawn of the devil, you're not going to allow to literally." I mean, she might not have said that, but she hated me. I was just bad. I never talked to the woman. I owned a bar. I was bad. Therefore, I'm bad. So yeah, didn't allow me to the funeral. I could not go to the funeral. I got turned away at the funeral.
I'm so sorry about
Thank you. I couldn't get access to the autopsy report because I did not believe she had a heart attack. Because at the time, as I said, her first drink that she ever drank was with me that I was aware of. Did smoke, didn't do drugs, normal, as far as I know, pretty healthy. And yeah, so she passed on. And all of a sudden, this confounded my issue. I'm still got this creature I saw, whatever the hell it was. I'm still thinking out. Now I know in my heart of heart it's a demon. That's what I'm thinking because I'm not educated on Bigfoot at all. And I thought that he did this to her. So I was about ready to go back to that forest and just light it up with, a bazooka. That's how mad I was. So
in your mind, you was relating the two. Oh, that had to be so traumatic for you.
Well, it was. So even what happened was I just couldn't think. I couldn't think straight at all. So in fact, as I didn't own the bar, and thankfully my manager, we started it together. I hired him on shortly after purchasing the bar. We became very tight. I could trust him. I said, here's the keys to the bar, man. If something happened to me, I don't want to get into it. It's kind of unbelievable. When I come back, I come back. Just don't rip me off. Put the money in the bank at the end of the night like we always do, and I'll come back when I come back. I didn't go back to work for 6 months.
Oh my God.
6 months. I didn't have the will to go to work. What my will was? First of all, the mystery how she died, but
yeah,
trying to figure out what in the hell this experience we had back on June 15th. And so it took a long time before I finally got a hold of some people I could trust. I want to Sasquatch Chronicles. I came across this guy, Duke, who helped me out quite a bit. Then Carrie Arnold. And then I had started following YouTube and found Tex on that other show. And Tex I really bonded with over over the airwaves. I thought this guy's cool. I'd like to hang out with this guy. And then finally I reached him somehow, and then that's kind of where I'm at today with having the channel, doing the books, because all the books I do are all about people with encounters that they don't like to share, because I tell everybody, and Tex knows this, I say this almost 3 times a month. For me, it's therapy, and people need to talk about their encounters someplace where we won't make fun of you, ridicule you, judge you.
Yes.
If you don't have to come on a show, you can send me an email. I'll tell your story if you like. So that's kind of what I do today. Of course, along with Tex and our fantastic group that we put together over the years. And that was my Bigfoot encounter. I call it a Bigfoot encounter, Celena and everyone listening. But even today, am I 100% sure it was even Bigfoot? I say Bigfoot, yes, but I still am kind of perplexed by the whole situation. So that's my story.
Well, first of all, I can't stop putting myself in your place. I'm so sorry that happened the way it did.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what you were feeling at that time, and still to this day, you have to think back at that moment. How everything happened.
Yeah.
But I'm also glad I met you, and I'm glad that Tex was there for you, along with several others.
Yeah. I mean, eventually when I must say, I spoke to many people, and I went on a lot of shows before even having a show and I found they weren't genuine with me. I think they just were startup channels on YouTube or on the radio, and I never felt that they really were interested in me. Thought I had an okay story, so they would get ratings or views or whatever. But it wasn't until I found Carrie and Duke. Duke's, he's who he is, but then Tex for sure. And then because of these people, I was able to find other legitimate, trusting people that have had experiences, that do some research in the field, and we all have the common bond of having some sort of experience, whether it's cryptid, paranormal, or otherwise.
Duke was my first interview, and he absolutely, since day one, has looked out for me.
Who is this?
And Duke from World Bigfoot
okay. Yeah, good guy. Yep.
And he has looked out for me since day one. But I'm serious when I say this. I'm 54, and I have never had a computer in my life. And if it wasn't for Tex, I would not be sitting here today doing an interview. He works it from Texas, and he is just the best thing in the world as far as helping somebody that don't know what they're doing.
Well, you're welcome.
I will say this about Tex. Yes, we're good enough friends. We kid each other and say crap about each other more than as friends do. But I would tell you, Tex he'll give you the shirt off his back. He'll help you out with anything. So I'm very proud to call Tex one of my best friends.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm very appreciative to him. I can't say that enough. I know I probably get on people's nerves, but when you don't know anything about computers, and that's how the world is working these days, and yet you love everybody. And I said, I want a way to maybe tell my story and hear others. I've got to find a way to do this. It's very important. But I just can't imagine what you went through that day. See, I know what I went through. I heard what you went through. I heard what Tex went through. But everybody's story is different, but it comes down to this. You still go into some kind of psychological shock.
Yeah.
Because you can't believe, you know what I mean?
That you can't process something that number one's not supposed to. For me, it's not supposed to exist. Sure, like I told you earlier, I knew about Bigfoot. I saw Patterson Gimlin. I saw the In Search Of shows. And in fact, when I saw the In Search Of, I was in grade school. And the next day when I went to school, I went looking for a Bigfoot book in our library in grade school. Well, there's no Bigfoot books in grade school. I mean, there's just not. If there was, it was probably a color pictured parody.
Right.
I wonder if there's any now. Has anybody checked in the
Well,
library to see if there's any now?
I have been to libraries since the internet, but no, I'm sure there are now. I mean, you
well, I
can.
know public libraries. It's like uh, Lyle Blackburn, and there's some other guys out there too. Actually, go speak at public libraries.
Yeah,
So it's more acceptable and stuff nowadays. So I'm sure there are some books out there, but
yeah,
yeah. I mean, back in the day, back in our day, when we were kids, it's stuff like the only time you saw Bigfoot was, of course they had Legend of Boggy Creek, that story, that movie, and then you had um, some god awful thing called Bigfoot and Wild Boy on 1970s Saturday morning shows.
that's got to be a Donnie show. We got to do that.
You
Don. I
know,
never seen
I've
that
never
one.
even heard of that.
oh, you got to look it up. I mean, it's absolutely horrible. But and then you had like you said, Rob, you had to search of stuff and all that kind of mess. But that was really it. I mean, you didn't have, of course. Oh, you can't forget the $6 million Man, where you had Andre the Giant that played Bigfoot.
Yeah,
I did see that.
I did see that too. I saw that one.
Yeah.
But you're right earlier. What you made mention of, Celena, you see that as you can't process something like that.
Mm-mm.
It's the biggest thing I've seen in my life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I seen ghosts and stuff even at my bar. Never Bigfoot. Well, the bar actually was 2020 saw a ghost, okay, but 2019. However, I had other weird paranormal experiences, which I kind of brushed off as like kind of creepy, kind of scary, but I got through it. But this is something that was physical, 90 feet away. I could make out, again, I got two renditions that Sibylla Irwin did, and it's pretty dang close to what I saw. And even today, when I look at them, it's like, wow, I seen that. But the funny thing is, it'll never leave my memory banks. It's as
But
vivid in my mind as it is looking at a picture.
I mean, aside from the obvious, what really stood out to me with your encounter is you were you're the second person that I personally know,
Right.
that has saw a Bigfoot vocalize at them.
Yeah.
You and Carrie Arnold, and those are the only two that I know personally, that I'm aware of, that has actually seen them vocalize. It's either one or the other with most people. You either see a Bigfoot or you hear a Bigfoot. You don't do both.
And another crazy thing is we both had some people we saw them both during the day as well, right?
Right.
I mean, and most people, people see them during the day or evening. And for me to, and I physically felt something from it. When it yelled, screamed, and roared like that, vocalized at me, I felt the depth of what it was verbalizing at me. I mean, it hit me. It knocked my girlfriend off the boat.
Right.
Which is the thing, Tex. I don't know what the hell that was. It wasn't infrasound. It had been something else.
Well, and I've given this some thought, and me and you have went back and forth privately, in private about this.
Yeah.
For years we talked about this.
Right.
And we've spitballed and thrown ideas back and forth about what it could have been, and was it infrasound? Was it this? Was it that? And I know there's a lot of people out there that want to go, oh, it was Bigfoot zapping her and all this kind of stuff. And you wrestled with that quite a while as far as her death goes.
I did.
But
yeah.
I have to, when you, and you didn't go into as much detail here as I know about your encounter.
Right.
But when it vocalized at you and hit you with whatever this was, infrasound or just a scream or whatever, you describe it as everything going black and white,
Yeah.
everything kind of slowing down.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that had anything to do with a special power or anything like. I think you were in shock, plain and
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yep.
Yeah, and I think it was the same thing for Cindy.
Yeah.
I think she went into shock, tripped, and fell out of the boat. You know, but it doesn't make it any less, terrifying what happened.
Oh, for
You know,
sure.
because what you saw until that point in your life was not supposed to exist. It wasn't supposed to be real.
Right.
Monsters weren't real.
Right.
But
And we're
yeah, I don't
always
know, man.
yeah, I don't know either. I mean, yeah, we've talked about that, the grainy, the black and white,
Mhm.
um, getting hit with that. I mean, maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but the shock factor, if you look at the shock factor, a lot of people in shock from a traumatic experience. You're accurate in the fact that time for those folks seems like a standstill when it's really not.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just because your mind's not catching up. Your mind's yet to catch up and process what the event you're coming across.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah.
My mind's telling me to do something. My body is going, what?
Because
Well,
I will tell you real
I mean,
quick.
my dogman encounter was kind of the same way. I mean, it seemed like it took forever to happen, but it didn't. It was like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that
same thing.
encounter that I had, I don't know how. Maybe the actual encounter I had, maybe I told that for 2 minutes of the whole story, but it seemed like it took an hour. This encounter in my mind seemed like it dragged out for an hour, but it was probably under 30 seconds. That fast, which they all are.
So,
Tex, I'm
go
so
ahead.
sorry to interrupt. Tex, I'm going to have to run her to the back door. If you can put me backstage for a minute.
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you. I'll
You
be
bet.
right back.
But
really
it's
quick.
been a while since me and you've actually talked about your encounter.
Oh, I know. Really quickly, Marion L. Asked me really quickly. I just seen a question. Did your Bigfoot come into the water? No, as far as I know, it was always on the water's edge. Now, when I turned to get my girlfriend back in the boat, is when I did not look at the shore. That's when I thought that perhaps, where's it at? I had no idea what this thing was. I don't know if it was swimming under the water, coming at us. So I can't answer if it went into the water. As far as I know, it didn't. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I doubt it.
Yeah, you never know. I mean,
You just don't know.
But you've had several people talk about your encounter, psychics and people that claim to communicate with these creatures and everything.
Yep.
And your gut feeling, though, this is what I want. I don't want anybody else's opinion. I want your gut feeling.
Yeah.
Bigfoot or not?
My gut feeling, it's still a hard question to answer. I'm gonna call it a cryptid.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
I ruled out demon.
Yeah.
I think it was definitely physical.
Yeah.
I mean, it had to have been. Although ghosts or paranormal entities can appear to be physical in stature, but this thing seems so real. I mean, it was real. I probably could have yanked the hair off of his body if I had the opportunity. In my opinion,
right?
I wouldn't have got close enough, of course, without being smashed into the ground. But yeah.
No, you could have punched it in the face.
Yeah. Oh, geez. My fist would have landed it right in his. Yeah, it would have hit him right in the what, probably. Made him bend over. Yeah, for me, I've ruled out it was paranormal. Now, the psychics I've spoken with all say it came from a
Right.
portal.
Yeah.
Although the one that was of all the people I talked to is when I talked to Robin, as you know, and I never mentioned the Red Barn. I didn't mention it here today because it's not part of the story.
Right.
That she supposedly communicated with my creature on the show and says, met me no harm. It came from around the Red Barn from a portal. Now, how does she know that? Because I never mentioned that before. So
Right.
that for me, there's some significance with that. But then again, I don't know. But I'm still going to go with cryptid creature of some sort because Ron Moorhead says, hey, these cryptid creatures, if you believe in his theory of quantum physics, they can turn that energy, that mass into energy and move and teleport. I don't know. I'm not a physicist, but
Right.
I guess it's possible.
Well, Rob, have you had anything? You was telling me about your bar that you had,
Yeah.
and that that your girlfriend's mother at the time was calling you a demon.
Oh yeah, call me this, that, and the other.
Well, I've known him for several years. He is the devil.
Yeah, I'm the devil. I'm the spawn of Satan. Arr.
Well, I don't think so.
No, I'm not. I'm not. Yeah,
Well, if you
well,
ask,
But
if
all
you
of
ask
my,
Rob,
all my,
Rob's a demon, and I conjured him. How's that,
yeah,
Rob?
yeah. This would be all over one of those gossip websites now. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
right.
Rob admits to being the spawn of the devil. No,
Yeah.
I'm not.
but I know you're not, and I know you're just talking. Some
I like
people
to
would take
tease
you
it.
serious,
Hey,
but I'm
listen,
not
my
going to
my
take you serious.
personality is just very all over the place.
But anyways, I appreciate your personality and that you're comical like that. But some people would literally take you serious when you
Oh,
say
they do. They trust me. There's people out there that will.
yes. But I want to know, if you don't mind, you said that you had experiences in. I'm sorry, she's a puppy and she's all over the place.
That's
Um,
okay. She's
but
cute.
what
She wants
experiences
her screen time. She
are
Yeah.
wants her screen time.
when you? Yes, she is definitely a co-host. What experiences did you have at the bar that
Well,
you
I
found?
can tell you that, and I also have a very actually one. I got several. I could do the bar one, but I've got many. I've got shadow people when I was married, ghosts when I was a kid, a ghost of my niece.
Tell me,
Uh,
tell me.
I can do that, but I will say this: reflecting back, you know how I said that I've seen all these things in the paranormal world up until, and I never really. I mean, I did some of them. I did pay a lot of attention to, but I didn't go into the research aspect. I just kind of, after a week went by, I blew it off like most people do. But looking back at this, we had a cottage up north that we rented. I was in between the age of maybe 8 to maybe 12. And my mom and dad would always take me and my brother up there. And it was a family thing because my grandma, grandpa would have the cottage next door and some aunts and uncles. So we got like a string of them all together. Then we'd always meet at grandma's house for breakfast every morning. But the cottage me and my brother were in, it was me, my mom and dad, and me and my brother. We had this room and we had a big picture window at night that looked into the forest. And every night the moon would we would not need a nightlight because the moon this particular all the time would, especially up north, is typically always clear, especially in summertime. So the moon would give us that perfect amount of light where as a kid you could just fall asleep and me and my brother would talk all night. And we went there for 4 straight years. And I gotta say this, a text, you might have heard this. I'd like your take on this right quick. And I can get into the ghost stuff too, Selena. I I tell you, out of the we always would spend like 5 days. And Tex, I must tell you and everybody listening, that every night there's this big shadowy figure always was so tall that it always blackened out the moon and cast the room black. And it was like a silhouette. I'm a young boy, but it seemed like a person, but it was just too big. It was just too immense. And I always would run out of my room and look for my dad, thinking he was playing games with us. My dad was a big joker, I guess a lot of dads are with their kids. He was always sleeping. And me and my brother always wondered for many years just what that was. Of course, we didn't think monster, we didn't think Bigfoot. But now looking back, I'm just wondering if that was any way, shape, or form a Sasquatch. You know what I mean? Just seemed
Yeah.
too odd. And it always happened at least once a week during the 1 week stay, but it happened it happened for like 3 years in a row, 3 or 4 years in a row. And I'm wondering if that was truly my first time I had any experience with a cryptid or a Bigfoot. I wonder.
Well, it might be. You said immense. So that's the first thing that comes to
The
mind.
reason I say it blackened out the bedroom with this big shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So looking back at my life and having this encounter, I'm thinking, with all things I've experienced leading up to these other stories, maybe maybe there was a Bigfoot around the cabin, because there's Bigfoot up north.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're all
Absolutely.
lower 40s.
Yes.
But anyway, I want to throw that out there because I don't think I ever told you that, Tex. I just wanted you to chew on that. We can talk about that some other time. But yeah, maybe it was. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I could do that other story. But you know what? I got to do something really quick. I'll be back in like 30 seconds, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Tex is going to hold you guys. Hold on for that.
Well, Tex, while he's gone for a second, let me ask you. I've heard of your dogman experience, and I've heard of what has happened this past weekend, and how strange that was. And I'm sure you'll get into that when the time comes, whenever. But have you experienced anything, maybe ghostly wise, that you didn't understand?
Oh, absolutely. I've actually touched an entity, and I'll tell you that story real quick. We lived in a house. We were the first owners of this house, and it was brand new neighborhood, brand new house, right? And we were like the sixth house in the neighborhood, and we started having some strange stuff happen, here and there and everything. And I'd seen a full body apparition. We'd heard voices, the whole 9 yards. And I was in bed one night, and my kids were younger, and any of you's got kids or whatever, or even pets, dogs that sleep with you. You're going to have those nights where you wake up with Peter paws in your back, right, trying to root you out of bed. So, and that's what was happening, and I'm like, look, and I sat up. I'm like, okay, and I turned around and looked behind me, and it was my wife, the dog, and my youngest daughter. Okay, and my youngest daughter was covered all the way up to the top of her head, and I went, okay, I'll see how this is going to go. So I got up, and I was going to go crash out in my daughter's bed, instead of waking her up, carrying her upstairs, all that kind of rigmarole. So I get up and I walk upstairs, and I flip on the hallway light, and I look, and she's asleep in her bed. So I'm not one to I never have been one to when they see something weird, when they, whatever, something happens, I don't scream. I don't panic and react and all that kind of stuff. Honest to God, my reaction was, okay. I turned the light back off, and I went back downstairs, and I walked in our bedroom, and it was my wife and the dog in the bed. My youngest daughter was no longer there. But when I turned around and saw her the first time, and I saw her in my bed, I reached behind me and I patted her on the head.
You don't believe in doppelgangers, do you?
Well, see, and you're not the first one that's come up with that theory. I don't know.
I've heard about that before.
I know.
Hey,
Lanita, love you, darling.
Oh, is it Lanita? Yeah, I remember. I can't see any of the writing. I've got 3 pair of glasses here, and remember, I stepped on the one pair that I could see.
And I'm glad. I'm glad Eddie and Jen. I'm glad y'all dropped in, because Celena is going to be on their show following this one. So Soon as we wrap this one up, she's going to go over there and be on their show at Eddie and don't forget about their channel. It's
Eddie and Jen Vlogs.
yeah, and then some. So back to our guest. Hey, Rob.
Yeah, well, no, that's fine. I know you gotta give Tex some airtime. So, Celena, we can.
Well, it's in the contract. I require, So
yes, of course, it's in the contract. Now, Celena, I got so many paranormal accounts. I'll give you 3 to choose from. You pick.
Okay.
I can tell you about a shadow person with my wife in our marital home. I can tell you about the Indian girl that paid a visit to my niece, or I can tell you about my ghost at a bar that I saw. So there's 3. I've got many more. You pick one.
I am fascinated. I think they're some of the most beautiful people on the face of the earth. I think that I just think they're beautiful. So I got to ask about the Indian. And
we can do that one. And again, I like telling the stories about my personal accounts as well, because I tell other people's all the time too, but mine are mine, and I love telling them. So my brother and his wife, Karen, my brother's Dave, Karen, and my niece involved in this her name's Lauren. And so he bought his first, he moved from an apartment. He bought his first house in a new subdivision in Michigan. And it was, again, as I said, a newer subdivision, a lot of new houses, a lot of younger couples with younger families. My niece at the time was like 5 years old, and my nephew was about 7 years old. They're about 2 years apart, 2 or 3 years apart. And so they moved in, and they lived maybe about 30 minutes from where I was currently living at the time. So we're all excited, the new house. So I would always, every weekend, and I would drive up and hang out. And typically I would spend the night most of the times because, we get pretty wild. Us Yankees tend to get pretty wild, so best to spend the night. I know you Southern folk do as well. I know. So so I'd be spending the night, and they had 4 bedrooms upstairs, and one room was like the one I always would sleep in, and then we had the 2 kids' rooms, and then of course Dave and Karen had their room. So after about the 2nd month in of me hanging out over there, the room that I was in was totally pitch black. They had these darkening shades, and when I went to bed, it was dark. So one night when I'm laying in bed, I seen now, by the way, there's like a little hallway light on connected to all the rooms. So if you had to get up, go to the bathroom, the light was on, especially for the kids. So one night, the door to my room opened, maybe 6 inches, and I see what appears to be my niece. Maybe she's 4 foot tall. I see her outline. It was just kind of a shadow. I couldn't quite make it out, but it was a little girl. And I'm thinking, oh, hey, Lauren, what you doing up? You want to come sleep with Uncle Robbie, tell your story or whatever? And then the door would slam shut, and that would be it. So I paid no attention. I went back to bed. And again, blew it off. No big deal. A couple weeks later, again, I'm spending the night, and same thing happens. Door opens. Little girl that I'm thinking is my niece. I say the same thing, whatever I said to her. Hey, what's up? Door shuts, gone. And for the 2nd time, I didn't even make mention of it to her because I already forgot by the morning, right? So this happened a 3rd time. And this time when the door opens and shuts, I race out of my bedroom. I said, I'm going to catch this little rascal. And I'm running down the halls, and I'm thinking it's kind of odd because when I jump out of bed, I'm, faster than a 5-year-old. She's not in the hallway, and her bedroom was down from mine, maybe 30 feet, however far it was. I don't know. And I opened her bedroom door, and I go up to her bed, and sure as crap, She is nestled away, sound asleep. Her mom tucks her in so tight that she can't even move. There's no way she could run down the hallway and tuck herself in like that. These kids, they have no idea how they cannot do that. I can't tuck myself in that tight, but she is out sleeping. And again, I'm like, wow, what? So I'm thinking in my head, what is going on here? This is kind of odd. I go back to bed, and for whatever the reason, I still don't say anything. Thanksgiving's rolling around, and so we're sitting around the Thanksgiving table. The kids excuse themselves, or mom and dad let them go play or whatever, and so we're all doing our talk like all families do. It was me, my brother, sister-in-law, my mom, a couple other people were watching TV, watching football in another room. And I said, okay, you guys, I got to tell you guys something. And I went on to tell the stories that I just told you guys. And then my brother and sister-in-law kind of look at each other, dead in the face. They go, Rob, something is going on. Now, of course, after I had made mention of my story, my mom says that she experienced the same things, thinking it was Lauren as well, when she would spend the night once in a while. So my mom's seen it. I'd seen it. Now my brother and sister-in-law says, yes, something's going on here. I said, well, please enlighten me. So every day when my brother was off to work, Lauren had her little playroom, and they had these glass French doors, which was her little play area. And my sister-in-law happened to one day be glancing and looking through the glass, the French doors, and seeing Lawrence talking into the closet. And she's very emphatic, and she can tell, and she can hear little voices talking. And so Karen goes in the room. Hey, Lauren, honey, what you doing? She goes, oh, I'm talking to my friend Jenny. So your little playmate, make-believe friend Jenny? No, Ma, she's not make-believe. That's what Lauren is saying. Like, remember, she's 5.
Uh-huh.
And she's in the closet. So Karen looks in the closet. Oh, there was no one there. And she just kind of laughs it off. Says, okay, continue on playing with Jenny. A second time this happens a week or so later, same thing. She's talking, and Karen goes in. And then Lauren got kind of a little mad at her, I guess, for a little 5-year-old. Said, Mama, every time you come in the room, Jenny gets mad and she leaves. And Karen goes, why, sweetie? What's wrong? She says, well, Jenny tells me, Mom, that she doesn't like grown-ups. In fact, she doesn't like white people.
Oh.
And Karen is like, what in the world is my little daughter saying? She goes, yeah, you're evil. Evil. My niece says the word evil. Jenny's telling her the word evil. I mean, her playmate Jenny, right, that she's seen. And Karen is like, oh, where'd you hear these words from? Evil white people. I mean, we don't talk like that around here. They're not racist. They're not, let alone any of these things. So Karen is like worried. She tells my brother, and they're like, she's seeing people in the closet. And then she goes on to tell Dave and Karen as they start questioning her more thoroughly, and they're very concerned. And so, well, Jenny's my Indian playmate. She's an Indian. The reason she doesn't like the white man or the white people is because years ago her family was massacred by cowboys. She used the word cowboys and Indians.
Mm-hmm.
There was a big massacre. So my brother, he's thinking, Rob, man, I'm kind of thinking, well, is this a ghost from the past? He doesn't know. We all know about ghosts and paranormal. It's just, how deep do you want to go is the question. How deep down the rabbit hole, right?
Yeah.
My brother starts doing some little investigating on paranormal and ghosts, and he actually goes back and looks some things up about his property in the home. And I guess back in the 1900s, or whenever the cowboys and Indians, whenever they were in the full, the wars between, cowboys and Indians, as we all know as kids, this land, as it turned out, ends up being an Indian burial mound where an Indian tribe was wiped out by us,
Mm.
and they were all left to die there, and their bodies remained in the earth of this property many years ago. So my brother's like, man, I think this is I think we're on an area where there's spirits of the deceased. So, and these things, and then as my brother figures this out, and time goes by, goes by, and they're still Lauren is still experiencing this. So my brother, he had said, you know what, we got to get out of here. They were creeped out. They couldn't go to sleep at night. They're continually watching their daughter. They don't want her to have issues when she gets older.
Mm-hmm.
So they put up the house for sale and they moved. And so my brother and sister-in-law, they moved out for a couple months, 6 months perhaps, and my brother ran into one of his neighbors. He goes, "Hey, Dave, you moved out, kind of abruptly there. What's up, man? And he looks at him, and before my brother could explain, and he did not even know if he wanted to explain what had happened, the guy stopped him and said, "Haunted house, isn't it?" And my brother goes, "Yeah, how do you know?" And all these couples had younger kids. He goes, "Our kids get paid visits too in my house." And my brother says, "How do you know my kid got paid a visit?" "I just know because our daughter and little son, they experience the same things. We're getting ready to move too." And they did the research as well. So as it turned out, I guess this whole area is haunted. And within a year, half of the couples that moved in all moved out.
Wow.
And this property is still there today. And back in the day, and this is way several decades ago, the property value in this subdivision is just it's gone down the tubes. In fact, nobody even owns property there. Every house is turned into some sort of rental home where the landlord owns it and people rent, and they don't put no more than a couple years in. They're always out. They're always moving because I guess there's some sort of hauntings that goes around. Now I can't tell you today what's happening. I just know the last time we checked into this was maybe 10 years ago. And you could probably pick up a house today over there for about 80 or 100 grand. And my brother back in the day bought his house for 150 grand. So that tells you the depreciation value. It's just not selling. And unfortunately today that property is it's been taken, it's kind of slummy now. It's not beautiful like it once was because, it's just, transient people moving in, moving out, not taking care of their property.
Right.
So it's kind of a sad thing.
Well, I'm going to tell you something right quick, Rob. Let me wet my lips a little bit. Y'all know I've been a little under the weather today.
I do know that. Yeah. I'm
So
sending you some healing energy.
oh, Lord mercy. I was going to tell you, there is you and Tex and everybody else, there is a person, I'm not going to name any names, of course, because they threatened me, literally threatened my life. If I ever tell anybody, they'll deny it.
Oh, boy.
Anyways, they are so high up as far as their position where they're employed, in with a science degree.
Yeah.
Um, and had a humongous piece of property and horses and land and just this beautiful, beautiful home. Um, just a successful family, and hard workers. And so they had a very nice, living. They were making a very nice living. And they came to me and said, "Don't ever repeat this." I know I was not sleeping. I was wide awake. I woke up and there was Indians, white-headed Indians, which means Indians up in age, of course,
Yeah.
from one side of their bed, from the very top all the way to the bottom, all the way across the bottom and all the way up the other side. So Indians had gathered around their entire bed, and they said they didn't. It had to be just maybe they were letting them know they were watching over them. Uh, they didn't say anything. They just stood there, and that bothered them really bad. That they didn't know why they were there. And I said, well, probably just to let you know that they were there first. You're living where they probably had their home, you know. But they were bothered by that because scientifically, this person was very, very intelligent, you know,
Sure.
but yet to be visited by something that they didn't understand. And I thought, well, that was their home first. I bet you if you go back and study, they were there before you were. So they were just saying hello, just letting you know they were, you know, they're watching over you or something. But it bothered them because they're so scientific, they wanted an answer. And so they made me swear up and down that I would never ever repeat that story. But as long as I don't mention any names, I should be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be good. Just don't mention, that it was Sam Smith and
Yeah.
Albert Ronstein.
Right.
But it tickles me how that even they, being so scientific and they
Yeah.
study everything and have their education,
Well,
even they are confused. They don't
well,
understand
well, I
what's
will tell you this, and I don't know if Tex might concur. I don't, put all my eggs in science and
Mm.
scientists either. That's to me,
Yeah.
I, I, if they can't prove anything, everything's a farce. Everything is not real. It doesn't matter. Scientists do not believe Bigfoot exists, even though there's been how many stories? 1 million encounters in the world, probably. Nope,
Yeah.
no.
don't exist.
Easily.
Don't exist. It scientifically has not been proven. No bodies, no bones, no this, no that. Those people, yeah, science is great for many things in the world, but when it comes to talking about cryptids, paranormal, UFOs, aliens, they don't have a clue. It's people like us that bring it to the forefront.
Yep. I agree.
But we're not taking it serious, so it is what it is.
Well, you're right. We're not taken serious, and but there are. Thank goodness, I've noticed there are at least two that I know of. At least two that have stepped up and they're coming forward with what
Good.
they
Yeah.
have found, and they are scientists, and so I'm excited about that, and I can't wait for them to make their announcements publicly, and so it. There's just so many. I guess you could say critics and people
Yeah.
that want to make fun. But you're right. If it wasn't for people that was out there doing the research they're doing, a lot of the
Yeah.
things that are found today would not be found. So I'm grateful, even for Tex that was out this past weekend, for all the researchers that do what they do.
Yeah.
So
Hey, don't get me wrong. I respect scientists and science because there's a place for it,
Yeah.
But because without science, where will we be today?
yeah.
We wouldn't have the technology we have, right? If it weren't for great minds.
Well,
But
I think, science is great, like you said, but don't be so damn arrogant and closed minded.
yes, right. That's
Yes, arrogant.
That's all I ask. That's all I ask.
yeah. That's all I ask.
That's
I don't
perfect.
even care if you're just all aper or all
Yeah,
paranormal
doesn't
when it
matter.
comes to this. But when I talk to you, don't turn away and walk away from me.
There you go. That's perfect. Yeah,
So
yeah, yes, most definitely. So, anyways, but yeah, I appreciate everybody because I know. Listen, I keep saying this, and I know people saying, yeah, she's never getting off the couch. But I promise you, as soon as my leg feels stable enough where I won't slip or it won't come out from under me, knee replacements are not a joke, people. So, and you get to where this one's feeling a little better, and then the right one because you overused it to keep
well,
from
you're compensating, right? Yeah, I have that
Yeah.
problem. I broke my right ankle when I was 26, and then I tore out my left knee, had that replaced or surgically repaired. Well, not too long ago, actually.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was in my 50s. Yeah, I knew Tex, so I had to been about 50. But yeah, you overcompensate, and then the
Yeah.
left side of your body's sore, and you pull a muscle. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have that equilibrium anymore. When you get, hey man, life goes downhill when you get a certain age. I don't care. You stub a toe and it hurts for 5 weeks.
I know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened to the good old days when I used to would just foul skin and they'd get up and keep going. But anyways, I'm wanting to get them a little stronger so I can get out there in the woods and do a little more than what I'm doing. But I so tip my hat to the people that are doing that. And I really appreciate the hard work they're doing.
I do.
To stand in for people like me that can't right now. So anyway, a text, are you keeping up? I can't see what time it is.
I got it. We got to go.
Okay. Well, listen,
go ahead.
You are awesome.
Oh, thank you.
And I just think you're awesome.
Too. You're awesome
thank
too.
You so much for coming. And look, you can come back anytime. Just hop on in and join us.
Okay, I can do that. I would thank everybody I didn't say hi to because I didn't have my, I use my phone. I can't really use my phone. But yeah, I appreciate I use Celena. It's a great show. Nice to meet you. You are a Southern belle.
Oh, thank you.
You're very
so
sweet.
Much, Rob.
I bet you make some nice sweet tea.
I can make sweet tea, butter beans, pound of cornbread, whatever you need.
No, it sounds good. Thanks to everybody in chat. Hey, if you're new in the chat room, subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob on YouTube. And of course, Texas Front Porch on YouTube. My pal, my buddy. We do a lot of, we're on every day dang near. A lot of cool stories, a lot of interviews, a lot of guests, much like this show. So thank you.
Don't forget you can find Rob's books on Amazon.
Yeah, you can. Amazon.
Yes,
Bigfoot Mr. Rob. Type in Bigfoot Mr. Rob on the Amazon browser. I have 2 books out.
Yeah.
So they're pretty sweet. All true cryptid encounters from people that have contacted me over the years that I put together for them because they don't want to come on the show or be public, much like I didn't want to be public for a while. But now I'm just a public person. I'm like a media guy now, so I'm all over the place.
Thank goodness.
This was awesome. I had a great time. I had a great time.
Okay, come back and see us, Rob. We love yous. Bye. Love everybody.
Celena, do not run off when we go off air, okay?
Okay.
Don't run off. Okay. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.